just wish he knew. I just wish he knew.
All right. Sounds good to me. Looks good to me. We have returned once again to finish the Afghan Soviet War. That's what we came to do. Came to finish that motherfucker. Because the Soviets couldn't. Oh, I'm just kidding. Ha! Could you imagine? You know, being that we are the ninja horde, we probably could do it. A group of ninjas can do basically anything. And let's be real here. Hold on, let me get a couple of things squared away. This should work out pretty well. I think it should. Either way, we'll find out, won't we? Ha! We're gonna get into it. So we finished the war yesterday, basically. But there's a couple things I wanted to go over. Like, some of the aerial engagements that we didn't cover on the last episode. So, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get into that. Starting with some aerial losses in Pakistan. All right. During the conflict, Pakistan Air Force had F-16s. Shot down 10 aircraft belonging to the Soviet Union, which had intruded into Pakistani territory. However, the Soviet record only confirmed 5 kills, 3 Su-22s, 1 Su-25, and 1 AN-26. Some sources show that the PAF had shot down at least a dozen more aircraft during the war. However, those kills were not officially acknowledged because they took place in Afghanistan's airspace. Acknowledging those kills would mean that Afghan airspace was violated by the PAF, the Pakistan Air Force. In all, Pakistan Air Force F-16s had downed several MiG-23s, Su-22s, Su-25s, and AN-26s, while losing only 1 F-16. The Stinger missile. It's another thing we're going to go over here. Whether the introduction of the personal portable infrared homing surface-to-air Stinger missile in September 1986 was a turning point in the war is disputed. Many Western military analysts credit the Stinger with a kill ratio of about 70% and with the responsibility for most of the over 350 Soviet or Afghan government aircraft and helicopters down in at least 2 years of the war. Some military analysts considered it a game changer and coined the term Stinger effect to describe it. Congressman Charlie Wilson claimed that before the Stinger, the Mujahideen never won a set-piece battle with the Soviets, but after it was introduced, the Mujahideen never lost one. Well, alright then. However, these statistics are based on Mujahideen self-reporting, which is of unknown reliability. A Russian general claimed that the United States greatly exaggerated Soviet and Afghan aircraft losses during the war. According to Soviet figures, in 1987 and 1988, only 35 aircraft and 63 helicopters were destroyed by all causes. The Pakistan Army fired 28 Stingers at Soviet aircraft near the border without a single kill. According to Russia, allegedly. Many Russian military analysts tend to be dismissive of the impact of the Stinger. Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev decided to withdraw from Afghanistan a year before the Mujahideen fired their first Stinger missiles. Gorbachev was motivated by U.S. sanctions, not by military losses. The Stingers did make an impact at first, but within a few months, flares, beacons, and exhaust baffles were installed to disorient the missiles. While night operation and terrain-hugging tactics tended to prevent the rebels from getting a clear shot. By 1988, the Mujahideen had all but stopped firing them. Stingers also forced Soviet helicopters and ground attack planes to bomb from higher altitudes with less accuracy, but did not bring down many more aircraft than Chinese heavy machine guns and other less sophisticated anti-aircraft weaponry. Gorbachev stated in an interview in 2010 that the Stinger did not influence his decision-making process. Just to kind of throw that out there. This thing right here is the Stinger missile. This thing. Dun 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 dun. This is a Su-22, Su-25, F-16, and the the AN-26. Just for reference, right? So we know what we're talking about. I mean, we're going to talk about that for a second before we move on to the war crimes. We're going to talk about that for a second. So, they pointed out that most of the reporting was from Mujahideen self-reporting, which is of unknown reliability. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it's about the same reliable information as we would give them. I don't think that the United States would be any different. What is the point of reporting accurate numbers to the enemy? You really want them to think that you lost so much shit? No. Of course not. Like, that in and of itself is a strategy. I just think it's kind of funny that, I don't know why I put that in there. What the hell? I just think it's funny that, that's what they choose to bitch about. It's like, oh, they fucking reported false information. We didn't lose as much. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, if I had to guess, it's probably somewhere in between what Russia says and what the Mujahideen say, or Pakistan says, right? Somewhere in between the two. Russia's probably on the low end, and their opposition is probably on the high end. And if I had to take a guess, I'd put it right along the middle. Right along the middle. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over that before we get into war crimes. Because war crimes are a thing. Evidently. According to the rest of the world and a bunch of human rights people. I honestly don't understand the concept of a war crime. Because you're at fucking war? Like, the fuck? You know what I mean? Like it's already hard to justify war as it is. Like, you can't justify it by saying that, oh, if you do it correctly, there aren't any war crimes. Like, somebody's always going to commit some kind of war crime in someone's eyes. That's just how it works. Whenever I hear the term war crime, it just makes me think propaganda, right? But evidently, the Human Rights Watch organization concluded that the Soviet Red Army and its communist allied Afghan army perpetrated war crimes and crimes against humanity in Afghanistan, intentionally targeting civilians in civilian areas for attacking, killing, and torturing prisoners. But the Mujahideen wasn't. Isn't that what the Afghan army called in the Soviets for in the first place, was to fight against the Mujahideen, who were committing heinous acts against the population? Like, they pick one side and they make it the bad guy. And it's like, the craziest shit. Several historians and scholars, I'm sure, went further, stating that the Afghans were victims of genocide by the Soviet Union, and not at all by the Mujahideen. Nope, not at all. Ha! Come on. These include American professor Samuel Totten, Australian professor Paul R. Bartrup, scholars from Yale Law School including W. Michael Reisman and Charles Norchie, writer and human rights advocate Roseanne Klass, political scientist Adam Jones, and scholar Mohammed Kakar. Louise Dupree stated that Afghans were victims of a migratory genocide implemented by the Soviet military, while Afghan-American economists Nake M. Kamrani described it as massive terrorism and cultural genocide, arguing that the Soviet military forces perpetrated against the Afghan people. Sociologist Helen Fine wrote in an article published in 1993. Afghans have become victims regardless of whether they fled or surrendered. This is particularly reflected in the indiscriminate Soviet bombing of refugee caravans and villages. Similarly, the victims of massacres were not protected by their surrender to Soviet troops. Thus, the destruction of Afghans was not incidental to military objectives, but was a strategic objective in and of itself. The intent to destroy the Afghan people without distinction between combatants and non-combatants was demonstrated by the persistent pattern of mass killing and maiming of people in Afghanistan and the destruction of environment and food processing areas by the Soviet Union and the DRA. Again, but not by the Mujahideen, right? Like, you can't just pick one side. Both sides are going to do some fucked up shit. Like, let's be real here. Both sides are going to do some fucked up shit. Massacres. The army of the Soviet Union killed large numbers of Afghans to suppress their resistance. In one notable incident, the Soviet army committed mass unalivings of citizens in summer of 1980. To separate the Mujahideen from the local populations to eliminate their support, the Soviet army killed many civilians and drove more Afghans from their homes and used scorched earth tactics to prevent their return. They used booby traps, mines, and chemical substances throughout the country. The Soviet army indiscriminately killed combatants and non-combatants to terrorize local populations into submission. The provinces of Nangarhar, Ghazni, Lagman, Kunar, Zabul, Kandahar, Badakhshan, Logar, Pakita, and... Wait, what's the fucking difference? Oh, Paktia and Pakita witnessed extensive depopulation programs by the Soviet forces. And then, of course, there's the R-word accusations that I'm sure were on both sides. There's disgusting people everywhere. You can't just demonize one side and accuse one side of doing some heinous shit without accusing the other side of doing the same. Because fucked up people exist everywhere. It's not just here, it's not just there, it's not just, you know what I mean? Like, no matter where you go on the planet, you're gonna find at least one person who has some kind of deranged shit going on. But evidently, they did destroy the irrigation, right? Afghanistan's natural irrigation systems that they use to keep all their stuff. Irrigation systems crucial to agriculture in Afghanistan's arid climate were destroyed by aerial bombing and strafing by Soviet government forces. Man. In the worst year of the war, 1985, well over half of all the farmers who remained in Afghanistan had their fields bombed and over a quarter of their irrigation systems destroyed and livestock shot by Soviet government troops, according to a survey conducted by Swedish relief experts. Scorched earth strategy implemented by the Soviet Air Force consisted of carpet bombing cities and indiscriminate bombings that destroy entire villages. There's a dude laying landmines. Just wanted to throw that out there. Shit. But this is what I mean. It's like both sides are gonna do some crazy shit. Like you're not gonna get one side that doesn't. That it's not just one-sided every time. There isn't one good side and one bad side. It's like there might be a side that's defending themselves and a side that's being the aggressor. But you can't look at one place or the other place and be like, oh, that place is better than the other place. It's like, well, they're both doing fucked up shit. It's just ultimately what it comes down to. I do have the perfect thing, though, for carpet bombing. Because I think it's funny. I actually think carpet bombing is kind of cool. To be honest with you. To be completely honest with you. Not that, like, carpet bombing people is cool, but, like, watching a bunch of explosions go off simultaneously is pretty badass. Like, let's be real here. This is fucking awesome. Like, come on, that's awesome. That's awesome. Might do a lot of damage and, suck when it happens, unfortunately, to, people who are victims of war. But, alas, it's cool to watch happen when it's not doing anything destructive to people. At any rate, scorched earth strategy implemented by the Soviet Air Force consisted of carpet bombing of cities, indiscriminate... Yeah, we went over that. Millions of landmines were planted by Soviet military across Afghanistan. About 90% of Kandahar's inhabitants were depopulated as a result of Soviet atrocities during the war. Everything was the target in the country, from cities, villages, up to schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, factories, and orchards. Soviet tactics included targeting areas which showed support for the Mujahideen and forcing the populace to flee the rural territories the communists were unable to control. Half of Afghanistan's 24,000 villages were destroyed by the end of the war. Roseanne Klass compared the extermination campaigns of the Soviet military to the carnage unleashed during the Mongol invasion of Afghanistan in the 13th century, where the Mongols also had issues. Yo, Fredo, what's going on? It's kind of funny. It always seems like anytime somebody tries to invade Afghanistan, they just have a shit ton of issues all the time. Just all the time. Stop invading them. Fuck. Just stop. There have also been numerous reports of illegal chemical weapons, including mycotoxins, being used by Soviet forces in Afghanistan, often indiscriminately against civilians. Amnesty International concluded that the communist-controlled Afghanistan government used widespread torture against inmates. Officials, teachers, businessmen, and students suspected of having ties to the rebels, and interrogation centers in Kabul run by the KHAD, who were beaten, subjected to electric shocks, burned with cigarettes, and that some of their hair was pulled out. Some died from these harsh conditions. Women of the prisoners were forced to watch or were locked up in cells with their corpses. The Soviets were accused of supervising these tortures. Jesus! Yeah, but, let's be honest. What did the Mujahideen do that we didn't hear about? Right? Because a lot of these are very one-sided sources. You can't really find much from the Mujahideen other than, like, yeah, we got invaded and we fought back. That's, like, basically all they talk about when it comes to the Soviet Afghan War. And you try and find their interviews and shit. It's like, man. So all this information is going to be extremely one-sided, regardless. The Soviets were wrong. But then, 3 years later, the Mujahideen, the jihadists, they're wrong. Didn't you just send them money? Like, what the fuck? That coin flipped real quick. Yeah, those mountain men are tough, I'm telling you. The Soviet soldiers were looting from the dead in Afghanistan, including stealing money, jewelry, and clothes. It's no different than any other warring nation since the dawn of time. During the Red Army withdrawal in February 1989, 30 to 40 military trucks crammed with Afghanistan historical treasures crossed into the Soviet Union under orders from General Boris Gromov. He cut an antique teak carpet stolen from Darul Aman Palace into several pieces and gave it to his acquaintances. That's crazy. Dang. The Afghan Mujahideen were backed primarily by Pakistan, the United States, the United States. I'm going to say that one more time. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and the United Kingdom, making it a Cold War proxy war. Of course it was. Of course it was, because, the United States didn't see that they would be going to war with the fucking people they were funding basically 2 years later, after this war ended. Damn it. Anyways, backed primarily by Pakistan, the United States, Saudi Arabia, and the United Kingdom. Out of the countries that supported the Mujahideen, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia offered the greatest financial support. However, private donors and religious charities throughout the Muslim world, particularly in the Persian Gulf, raised considerably more funds for the Afghan rebels than any foreign government. Jason Burke recounts that as little as 25% of the money for the Afghan jihad was actually supplied directly by the states. That's still a quarter. Well, shit. That's actually a lot. Saudi Arabia was heavily involved in the war effort and matched the United States contributions dollar for dollar in public funds. So between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, they paid 50% of the costs of the war for the Mujahideen. This is why I'm against sending money overseas to countries to support war efforts again. Like, that's basically what, is going on in Ukraine and Russia right now. Why we're sending a shit ton of money to Ukraine. It's the same thing we did with the Mujahideen. Oh, shit, flashbacks. Oh, God, it's almost like history is repeating itself because Americans are not really keen on learning it. So, 20 years goes by, 30, 40 years goes by, and they're like, we're just going to repeat the process. Fuck it. Milk more money out of these people. No. Damn it, stop sending our money overseas. Fix our infrastructure. Fix our schools. Fix everything else in our country first. Shit, use some of that money to build a better border. Fuck. Jeez, there's so many better things that we could spend our money on in this country than sending it to other countries who eventually we might end up going against in the future. Like, stop supplying your enemy. Idiot. Isolationist. All the way. Saudi Arabia also gathered an enormous amount of money for the Afghan Mujahideen in private donations that amounted about $20 million per month at their peak. Other countries that supported the Mujahideen were Egypt, China, and Israel. What? Wow! I was surprised to hear that last one. Okay. Iran, on the other hand, was only supported by the Shia Mujahideen, namely the Persian-speaking Shiite Hazaras, in a limited way. One of these groups was the Tehran 8, a political union of Afghanistan Shia. They were supplied predominantly by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, but Iran's support for the Hazaras nevertheless frustrated efforts for a united Mujahideen front. Wild. Wild. When you fund your enemy. Because, I get it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And it's okay, we'll fund you a little bit because the greater threat is the one that you're fighting currently. And if I can wear down the greater threat, then I'm not really worried about funding you. A little bit. I get the process behind it, but damn, it just seems counterintuitive. It really does. Ugh. The Mujahideen launched multiple raids into the Soviet Union in an effort to foment unrest and rebellion by the Islamic populations of the Soviet Union. Starting in late 1984, Director of the CIA, William Casey, encouraged the Mujahideen militants to mount sabotage raids inside the Soviet Union, according to Robert Gates. Casey's executive assistant and Mohammed Yusuf, the Pakistani ISI brigadier general who was the chief for the Afghan operations, the rebels began cross-border raids into the Soviet Union in spring 1985. We went over the aerial engagements with Pakistan just a second ago. The KHAD-KGB campaign in Pakistan was a joint campaign which the Afghan KHAD's Foreign 10th Directorate and the Soviet KGB targeted Pakistan using prostitution spy rings. Okay, so let me rewind that back. Let's rewind that shit back. Just rewind it back here for a second. I fucking told you, all of you, on fucking, I swear to God, we can pull this up on fucking one of the VKs. I said it was a psyop. I said prostitution was a fucking psyop. I fucking told, literally, okay, I'm telling you right now, that shit's a fucking psyop, dude. It's a fucking psyop to destroy the population, to weaken the men in our society. Stop. No more prostitution. Ban that shit. Anyways, let's go back and read that again. Soviet KGB targeted Pakistan using prostitution spy rings. Dang. Strong evidence for why it's not the first time in history that prostitution was used as a psyop. It's not. And I'll guarantee you it wouldn't be the last and won't be the last. Shit, dude, that's kind of funny. I didn't think I was going to actually run into one of those going over this kind of shit, but that's actually kind of funny. There's some evidence right there. We'll put that on the prostitution psyop as that's our psyop counter number 1. That is number 1 on the psyop. We have found one instance so far where it has been used as a psyop in war. Terror attacks, hijackings, serial killings, assassinations, and dissemination of propaganda to dissuade Pakistan from supporting the Afghan Mujahideen. Yeah, everything's a psyop nowadays. Gotta love it. Miram Shah incident. On the 2nd of April, 1986, the 38th Commando Brigade of Democratic Republic of Afghanistan accidentally landed inside Pakistan territory during the Second Battle of Zawar. The strike force in the darkness of night accidentally landed near Miram Shah in Pakistan instead of Zawar. The force was surrounded by 120 soldiers, and 120 soldiers were taken prisoner, and 6 Mi-8 helicopters were captured. Dang, I'll bet you Pakistan was happy about that one. They were like, sweet, thanks for the helicopters. We'll take them. We'll fucking take them. In between the 26th and 27th of April, 1985, in Babadir, Pakistan. Badabir, Pakistan. An armed fucking dyslexia. I read the D's and the B's backwards. An armed rebellion was instigated by Soviet and Afghan prisoners of war who were being held at the Badabir fortress near Peshawar, Pakistan. The prisoners fought the Afghan Mujahideen of the Jamiat-e-Islami Party and the Pakistani 11 Corps, supported by American CIA advisors in an attempt to escape, but the rebellion was squashed and all POWs were unalived systematically. Damn. Ow. That sucks. That's what happens sometimes during rebellions, unfortunately. On the 5th of April, 1982, Soviet forces accidentally infiltrated Iranian territory, in which the Soviet forces strayed from the target of a Mujahideen base in southern Afghanistan and accidentally destroyed an asphalt factory. Iranian security forces attacked this strike force by using tanks and an aircraft destroying 2 Soviet Mi-8 helicopters. So wait, you're telling me Iranian security forces took out helicopters with a tank? Dude shot down a helicopter with a tank? What a legend! Yo, Shane, welcome in. What a legend. Dude took down a helicopter. An Iranian took down a helicopter with a tank. Like, come on. That's kind of badass, I'm not gonna lie. That's like one of the coolest damn things I've ever heard. Fuck. Shit. Alright, the impact of the war. Straight GTA move? Dude, no kidding. That dude was like fully gaming. He was pro gaming, bro. Just pro gaming. That's funny as fuck. Holy shit. Oh my god. That shit's fucking funny, man. Damn it. Where's my mouse? Hello? You gonna work? Yeah, you're gonna work. Alright. Yeah, that dude was pro gaming. That shit's funny. The impact. Soviet personal strengths and casualties between 25th of December 1700s. Jeez, this war lasted forever. No, 1979 and 15th of February 1989. A total of 620,000 soldiers served with the forces in Afghanistan. Though there were only 80 to 104,000 serving at one time. 525,000 in the Army, 90,000 with border troops and other KGB subunits, 5,000 in independent formations of MVD internal troops and police forces. A further 2,100 personnel were with Soviet group or troop contingent over the same period, doing various white-collar and blue-collar jobs. The total official fatalities of the Soviet armed forces frontier and internal security troops came to 14,453. Other estimates give a figure of 26,000 killed Soviet soldiers. I'm going to go ahead and guess it's somewhere in between that. Fucking always overshooting, and then, obviously the Soviets are going to report less than what they actually did because, it's not strategically advantageous to tell your enemy that you lost a shit ton of people. Like, it's just not strategically advantageous to say that you're weak if you're actually weak. Other estimates give a figure of Soviet Army formations, units, and HQ elements lost 13,833, KGB subunits lost 572, and MVD formations lost 28. And other ministries and departments lost 20 men. During this period, 312 servicemen were missing in action or taken prisoner. 119 were later freed, of whom 97 returned to the USSR and 22 went to other countries. Well, I imagine. Of the troops deployed. Whoa. Dariak. Thank you for the sub, man. Welcome in. How you doing? Appreciate that. Welcome Of the troops deployed, 53,753 were wounded, injured, or sustained concussion, and 415,932 fell sick. A high proportion of casualties were those who fell ill. This was because of local climatic and sanitary conditions, which were such that acute infections spread rapidly among the troops. Yep, high elevation. That's what happens. There were 115,308 cases of infections of hepatitis, 31,080 of typhoid fever, and 140,665 of other diseases. Of the 11,654 who were discharged from the Army after being wounded, maimed, or contracting serious diseases, 10,751 men were left disabled. Damn. Material losses were as follows: 451 aircraft, including 333 helicopters. Damn. Yeah, one of those helicopters was taken out by a tank. The legend. Turn on raids? Oh. I guess I can do that real quick. Hold on. Hold up. My stream might lag because my computer is not the best. But we'll see. I don't even have YouTube open. I just have Streamlabs open. Like, I never have YouTube open when I stream. It's fucking funny. Okay. Let's see. I gotta go to my settings. There it is. Well, what the hell? Are my settings somehow different than everybody else's? What the fuck is this? I have no idea how to turn on raids, guys. Speakeasy taught me the other day, and I just, like, failed to do it. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm in my settings, but it's not giving me the same shit. Yeah, I'll be a minute, for sure. Shane understands. Account, let's see. Yeah, I don't understand why the fuck it's not giving me other settings. Like, it's not even giving me the ability to, like, give people mods or anything like that. I have no idea what the fuck I am doing currently. Let's see. I'm so technology illiterate. This is terrible. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's relating to raids or anything like that. I don't know. Gone to my advanced settings, I've gone to everything. I have no idea. I have no idea. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I don't even have to do that. I can do this. Huh. Let's see. See if I figured this shit out. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Now I think I figured it out. Okay. Maybe, yep, I figured it out. Alright. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Figured it out. Boom. Nailed it. Not really, but nailed it. Fuck. Yeah, I went into my channel settings. I just wasn't in my studio. That's what was wrong. I was just on my YouTube page, not in the creator studio. This is how, like, slow I am when it comes to technology and shit like that on social media. I'm just terrible. I'm terrible when it comes to this shit. Terrible. Fucking terrible. Anyways, that should be good to go. Should be good to go now that setting has been changed. Should have done that like a couple of days ago when I asked Speakeasy how to do it. Like, I watched him do it and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's just the sidebar. You click on fucking settings and then you click on community. And I was like, clicking on my settings and there's nothing in my settings that relates to the community whatsoever. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Do I have somehow different settings than everybody else? This is crazy. I fucking watched him do it. Hey, just like, subscribe. Thanks for the subscribe, Jess. I appreciate it. That's awesome. Yeah, it should be complete now. I should have gotten it right, I think. I hope. I hope I did. I'm assuming, seeing as how now I have 6 viewers instead of 2. But, yeah, thanks for the raid, Teriak. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, my guy. We're just going over the, like, some of the deeper details of the Afghan Soviet War. That's what we're getting into right now. So I'm going over some of the numbers and statistics, because that's what this series is. It's battle tactics and war strategies with the ninja, where we talk about battle tactics and war strategies. And in fact, for all of you that are new and just coming in, I actually pointed one out. It's kind of based. So not too long ago, I said that on one of the verbal combats, I said that prostitution was a psyop. And I wasn't joking when I said that. And I found an actual instance that like pertains to that, right? The Soviet KGB targeted Pakistan using prostitution spy rings during the Afghan-Soviet War. So, just throwing that out there. It's a psyop to make our men weak. If you're a man, don't engage in it. And if you're in any form of government, ban that shit now. Ban it now. Where am I from? From the U.S. That's where I'm from. If you pull up a map of the United States and put your finger right in the middle of that country, odds are you're probably right around where I'm at. Right around where I'm at. I'm almost smack dab in the middle of the country. Almost. Raid incoming. Let's go. Let's go. But yeah, prostitution is a fucking psyop. That's a fucking hill I'll die on. It's been a psyop for a long time. They've used it many, many times throughout history in war as a means to either distract or weaken the men of any given population. Prostitution is a psyop and should be banned and legalized immediately. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, it does make sense whoring would be used for psychological warfare. You are correct, 100%. There's a lot of things you'd be surprised that are used for psychological warfare. I mean, feminism in and of itself is a psyop. It's Bolshevik, like, bullshit, propaganda that Lenin and Marx fucking were like, oh, I know how to get popular. It's crazy. Communist psyop. That's what feminism is. Feminism is a communist psyop. Didn't have any of this shit, any of these fucking problems before communism. That's why there shouldn't be a communist party in this country, and I'm fucking mind blown that there is. Mind fucking blown that there is. Anyways. Material losses from the Soviet Union were as follows. We went over the 451 aircraft, 147 tanks, 1,314 IFV and APCs, 433 artillery guns and mortars, and 11,396 cargo and fuel tanker trucks. In early 1987, a CIA report estimated that from 1979 to 1986, the Soviet military spent 18 billion rubles on the war in Afghanistan, not counting other costs incurred to the Soviet states, such as economic and military aid to the DRA. The CIA noted that this was equivalent to US $50 billion. Or $115 billion in 2019. The report credited the relatively low cost to small size of Soviet deployment. Relatively low cost. $115 billion as of 2019. Like, that's a relatively... Wow. No. It's not a relatively low cost. What the fuck? To the small size of Soviet deployment and the fact that supply lines to Afghanistan were very short. Well, yeah. I mean, from the Soviet Union to Afghanistan, obviously the supply lines were very short. But that doesn't mean that $115 billion is fucking a little bit of money. Holy shit. 18 billion rubles sounds huge. But it's really only good for 7 cups of Starbucks coffee nowadays. Who the fuck drinks Starbucks coffee? That shit's nasty. Shit, man. All my coffee's homemade. I know it looks like it's Gatorade, but it's not Gatorade. There's coffee in that Gatorade bottle. Cold brewed coffee. Amazing. With like 9 buckets of sugar. There's only like realistically 2 drops of coffee in there. The rest is just sugar. Military aid to the DRA armed forces totaled 9.124 billion rubles from 1980 to 1989. Financial and economic aid were also significant by 1990, 75% of the Afghan state's income came from Soviet aid. Yeah, and they still lost. The Mujahideen took over, and the Taliban was born. Now we're going to take a look at Afghanistan. Hipsters, yep. The war resulted in the death of You're not wrong. I mean, hipsters are really the only ones that fucking go to Starbucks anymore. I mean, honestly. Why not brew your own coffee? You can make it any which way you want. You can make any kind of coffee you want, and man, is it cheaper. Not only that, they're not putting fucking boiling... You're not putting boiling hot water in plastic-lined cups. Cancer waiting to happen. Not a good thing. The war resulted in deaths of approximately 3 million Afghans. Civilian death and destruction from the war was massive and detrimental. Estimates of Afghan civilian deaths vary from 562,000 to 2 million. But by one estimate, at least 800,000 Afghans were killed during the Soviet occupation. 5 million Afghans fled to Pakistan and Iran, 1/3 of the pre-war population of the country, and another 2 million were displaced within the country, making it one of the largest refugee crises in history. In the 1980s, half of all refugees in the world were Afghan. In his report, Felix Ermacora, the UN Special Rapporteur, whatever, UN, to Afghanistan, enumerated 32,755 killed civilians, 1,834 houses and 74 villages destroyed, and 3,308 animals killed in the first 9 months of 1985. Data cited by the World Bank shows that Afghanistan's population declined from 13.4 million to 11.8 million during the decade of Soviet occupation. Rudolf Rummel, an analyst of political killings, estimated that Soviet forces were responsible for 250,000 democidal killings during the war, and that Soviet-backed government Afghanistan was responsible for 178,000 democidal killings. He also assumed that overall 1 million people died during the war. There were also a number of reports of large-scale executions and hundreds of civilians by Soviet and DRA soldiers. Overall, between 6.5 and 11.5% of Afghanistan's population estimated to have perished in the war. Anti-government forces were also responsible for some casualties. Rocket attacks on Kabul residential areas caused more than 4,000 civilian deaths in 1987, according to the UN's Ermacora. Scholar Antonio Giustozzi estimated that 150,000 to 180,000 Mujahideen casualties, of which half of them died. He also puts the fatalities of the Communist Allied Democratic Republic of Afghanistan at over 58,000 by 1989. Along with fatalities were 1.2 million Afghans disabled and 3 million maimed or wounded. The population of Afghanistan's second largest city, Kandahar, was reduced from 200,000 before the war to no more than 25,000 following a months-long campaign of carpet bombing and bulldozing by the Soviets. Dang. Alright, let me catch up on some of these chats. Holy shit. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody. Caldy, Chris Lestrange, Teriak Raid, let's go. Ben Talk, Smoking Spaceman, Dano. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Shoutouts to Teriak for the raid, the legend. I appreciate you, sir. You're freaking awesome. You're freaking awesome. The International Committee of the Red Cross estimated in 1994 that it would take 4,300 years to remove all of the Soviet... 4,300 years? Yeah, I doubt it. 4,300 years to remove all of the Soviet landmines in Afghanistan, which continue to kill hundreds of people on a yearly basis. Probably still to this day. A great deal of damage was done to the civilian children population by landmines. 2005 report estimated 3 to 4% of Afghan population were disabled due to Soviet and government landmines. In the city of Kedah, a survey of refugee women and children taken shortly after the Soviet withdrawal found child mortality at 31% and over 80% of the children refugees to be unregistered. Of children who survived, 67% were severely malnourished, with malnutrition increasing with age. The Geneva Accords of 1988, which ultimately led to the withdrawal of the Soviet forces early in 1989, left the Afghanistan government in ruins. The accords had failed to address adequately the issue of the post-occupation period and the future governance of Afghanistan. The assumption amongst most Western diplomats was the Soviet-backed government in Kabul would soon collapse. However, this was not due to happen for another 3 years. During this time, the interim Islamic government arguably started a year before that, but okay, 3 years. We'll go with that. During this time, the interim Islamic government of Afghanistan was established in exile. The exclusion of key groups such as refugees and Shias, combined with major disagreements between the major Mujahideen factions, meant that the IIGA never succeeded in acting as a functional government. Before the war, Afghanistan was already one of the world's poorest countries. The prolonged conflict left Afghanistan ranked 170 out of 174 in the UNDP's Human Development Index, making Afghanistan one of the least developed countries in the world. Damn. Yes, please sub and like. Thank you for that, Shane. It's like the Irish potato famine, but for goats. Ha! Shit. Fuck. You need to see some ham radios in the background for this setup eventually? Oh shit, dude, that would be sick. If I could get a fucking fat ham radio. It'd be tight if I could get the mic from the ham radio to work on stream so that it would sound like I'm coming through a ham. It'd be kind of something like that, yeah. But a little bit more clear than that. Shit. Once the Soviets withdrew, U.S. interest in Afghanistan slowly decreased over the following 4 years. Yeah, barely. Much of it administered through the DoD Office of Humanitarian Assistance under the director of H.A. George M. Dykes III. What a terrible name. George M. Dykes III. I'm just kidding. With the first year of the Clinton administration in Washington, D.C., all aid ceased. Well, of course it did. Clintons just kind of do what they want. U.S. decided not to help with any reconstruction of the country, instead handing the interests of the country over to U.S. allied Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. It's kind of funny. You sat there and funded the war, but you won't help the reconstruction. Amazing. Pakistan quickly took advantage of this opportunity and forged relations with the warlords and later the Taliban to secure trade interests and routes. The 10 years following the war saw much ecological and agrarian destruction, from wiping out the country's trees through lodging practices, which has destroyed all but 2% of the forest over countrywide, to substantial uprooting of wild pistachio trees for the exportation of their roots for therapeutic uses, to opium agriculture. Damn. Taken full advantage of, ain't it a bitch? Got the mic, put the good one inside, bet Lestrange could work something out. Yeah, I bet he could. Dude, who doesn't want a ham radio? Let's go. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get some radios, to be completely honest with you. There's a very specific reason I started this series, right? And it's turned into something that's kind of fun, I guess, for, like, the chat, right? Like, it's more of a... So what my goal is with this is, like, an interactive documentary kind of thing, right? And almost like a comedic interactive documentary, because there's going to be a lot of times where I make stupid jokes like Bro Osama bin Laden. But, like, in all reality, I'm sure the chat has a lot of things that either they know or whatever, you know what I mean, that I might not go over. And if you want to get your say in, then get your say in. Like, if you have something that you think that I should be covering that I haven't covered yet, then I will cover it. And then also, I do believe it was Caldy last stream that requested the Roman Civil War as the next one I go over. So yes, the next one will be Roman Civil War between the triumvirate shortly after Caesar's assassination. So that'll be fun. Because dang, I could talk about Rome all day long. I mean, we all can talk about Rome all day long. Shit. Rome has something for everybody, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Alright, let's finish up this last little bit. 5.5 million Afghans, and then we can just kind of chill out and talk about it. 5.5 million Afghans were made refugees by the war. A full 1/3 of the country's pre-war population. Here, actually, I'll do this too. Hold on 1 second. Let's throw this pack up there for everybody who's joined in from the raid, so that there's a visual aid. Oops. Perfect. All right. By the end of 1981, the UN High Commission for Refugees reported that Afghans represented the largest group of refugees in the world. A total of 3.3 million Afghan refugees were housed in Pakistan by 1988, some of whom continue to live in the country up until today. Of this, about 100,000 were based in the city of Peshawar, while more than 2 million were located in other parts of the northwest province of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I butchered the shit out of that. Pakhtunkhwa, I don't know, region. Then known as the Northwest Frontier Province. Why the fuck wouldn't you just keep the same damn name? I could have just called it that. At the same time, close to 2 million Afghans were living in Iran. Over the years, Pakistan and Iran have imposed tighter controls on refugees, which have resulted in numerous returnees. They went back. In 2012, Pakistan banned extensions of visas to foreigners. Afghan refugees have also settled in India and become Indian citizens over time. Some also made their way into North America, the European Union, Australia, and other parts of the world. The photo of Sharbat Gula, placed in the National Geographic cover in 1985, became a symbol of both the 1980s Afghan conflict and of the refugee situation. And finally, the aftermath. The fall of the Soviet Union. What we've all been waiting for. The money shot. Oh, the end of communism. At least communism, and as the Russians knew it at that point, right? Out of dehydrated ham, I often think of Rome. Yeah, don't we all? I often think of Rome too. It was a good choice. The Roman Civil War, that was a great choice because there's a lot of interesting strategies imposed by all parties involved. It's pretty wild. It's pretty fucking wild. Like, Antony's fucking wife kind of double crosses it. Like, there's a lot of shit. It's real interesting. It's a good, like, if it were written in a book, it would make a great story, right? Shit. Sometimes history is fucking fantastic. Fantastic. It's interesting. There's all kinds of shit going wrong. Oh. Anyways, according to scholars Raphael Ryuvny and Asim Parkash, the war contributed to the fall of the Soviet Union. Contributed heavily to the fall of the Soviet Union, as we know now, by undermining the image of the Red Army as invincible, undermining Soviet legitimacy, and by creating new forms of political participation. On the other hand, the costs for the Soviet Union were not overwhelmingly large compared to other commitments, but, and I will stress, they were stretching themselves way too far and wide, had way too many monetary commitments going on, trying to fight all kinds of proxy wars with the United States. And going that heavy into Afghanistan did not help them. They had a lot of losses. It was not good. It was not good a turn of events. A lot of people say that it wasn't really as big of a contribution, but I think it's actually bigger than most people give it credit for. To Coliseum Entertainment, exactly. Exactly. Bin talk. Nailed it on the head. The CIA estimated in 1987 that the costs amounted to about 2.5% of the Soviet military spending per year. According to historian Sergei Radchenko, there is no evidence that the Afghanistan war bankrupted the USSR. It didn't bankrupt them, obviously. The Soviet Union spent about $7.5 billion between 1984 and 1987, but this number is negligible compared to the annual military budget of roughly $128 billion. Yeah, in like 7 other places. That's what happens when you fight like 7 different proxy wars at the same time, and not just against the United States. It's like they were trying to do other shit too. I can get into that, but it's not really part of the Afghanistan-Soviet conflict. The decision to withdraw was made based on a number of political factors. The studies about the dissolution of the the dissolution of the Soviet Union by historians in the United States, as well as Stephen Kotkin and Vladislav Zubak in Russia, identify mainly internal reasons for the collapse and mention the Afghan War only in passing. Unfortunately, because they wanted to highlight other things for, propaganda purposes. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. The war created a cleavage. Yeah, the war created titties. Just kidding. A cleavage between the party and the military and Soviet Union. Where the efficiency... That's a really weird word to use for that. A cleavage. A separation between the party and the military and the Soviet Union. Where efficacy of using Soviet military to maintain the USSR overseas interest was now put in doubt. In the non-Russian republics, those interested in independence were emboldened by the army's defeat. Some Russian leaders began to doubt the ability to put it down anti-Soviet resistance military. Exactly why I say it has more of an impact than they give it credit for. It's not just the cost. Like, the PR was terrible. The PR was just terrible. There's Sergey. I know, right, dude? Shit. Oh, we went over that guy last time. I don't know if it's the same Sergey. I don't think it's the same Sergey. I think it's a different Sergey. What was the other guy? Sergey something, but the joke was Sergey Sukhamov. Shit. Anyways. Damn it. Where was I at? Some Russian leaders began to doubt the ability and put down anti-Soviet resistance military, as it had in Czechoslovakia in 1968, Hungary in 1956, and East Germany in 1953, as the war was viewed as a Soviet war fought by non-Soviets against Afghans. That's another reason that Russia took such a terrible L, is most of the people were conscripts. They were all hired, like basically mercenaries. They had no loyalty, so they were like not as into it, I don't know. Something about loyalty to one's country when fighting for one's country has a huge impact on the performance of the soldier. It's just statistically relevant. As the war was viewed as a Soviet war fought by non-Soviets against Afghans outside of the Soviet Union, it was undermined the legitimacy of the Soviet Union as a transnational political union. The war created new forms of political participation in the form of new civil organizations of war veterans, which weakened the political hegemony of the Communist Party. It also started the transformation of the press and media, which continued under Glasnost. Yeah, Glasnost. The war did not end with the withdrawal of the Soviet Army. The Soviet Union left Afghanistan deep in winter, with intimations of panic among Kabul's officials. The Afghan Mujahideen were poised to attack provincial towns and cities, eventually Kabul, if necessary. General Secretary Mohammed Najibullah's government, though failing to win popular support, territory, or international recognition, was able to remain in power until 1992. Ironically, until demoralized by the defections of its senior officers, the Afghan army had achieved a level of performance it had never reached under direct Soviet tutelage. Kabul had achieved a stalemate that exposed the Mujahideen's weakness, political and military. But for nearly 3 years, while Najibullah's government successfully defended itself against Mujahideen attacks, factions within the government had also developed connections with its opponents. Fucking crazy. Fucking crazy as shit. Damn it. I hate it when I get a notification and it like fucks my whole shit up. Where's it at? I thought I had it up here. Maybe not. Maybe not. That's okay. That is okay. Because that is the... Wait, where's my mouse? My mouse die? Again? Again with the mouse dying! Damn it, that's like the third time. I just changed the battery, too. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. So, let's see what we got going on. Then press save. What's funny about it, Damien, is you can't tell between his reading voice and his speaking voice. Well, that's because my reading voice and my speaking voice is virtually the same thing, only when I'm reading, I just kind of, like, it's a little bit more forced, right? It's a little bit more projected. It's still my voice, it's just a little bit more projected. A little bit more, you know, a little bit more pizzazz. Like, it's still my voice, it's just projected. I'm just not talking, you know, like, I don't know. When I'm reading, it's much easier to, like, project that shit out, I guess. I don't know. It's just easier to read smoother that way. I guess playing kind of a character, but not really, right? It's still me, but it's, like, a little bit more emphasized me. So, I mean, right? So, like, I don't know. I don't really know how to put it, but yeah. I mean, next time we're going to go over the Roman Civil War. Or also referred to as Caesar's Civil War, 49 to 45 BC. It was a civil war during the late Roman Republic between two factions led by Gaius Julius Caesar and... Oh, wait, no, maybe that's not the one. I was going to go for the one after that, but I guess we could do both. Why the fuck not? Yeah, we were going to do this one. I don't know. That's for next time, though. What do we think that Russia could have done, or the USSR could have done differently to effectively win instead of lose, right? It's a major L. Just like we took a major L in Vietnam, and that was technically their Vietnam, right? What could they have done a little bit differently? I could give you two things. Garner more public support rather than, you know, trying to force the civilization, like just the civilians, not the Mujahideen or the army that they were supporting, right? Get more support from the people. You try and force it on them, and they're just going to side with your opposition, right? That's a major L. It's amazing that their military strategists didn't account for that. Like, they're just like, oh, fuck it, we'll just force them into submit. No, bad, wrong, failure. Major L. Ah, I see what you're saying. Most people sound different when they're reading. Well, I spend a lot of time reading. And then, also, I did voice acting on Facebook for, like a year and a half out of the 3 years I streamed on Facebook. I used to play video games on stream, like old RPGs and shit, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, stuff like that. And, I used to voice act them. And in most of the Final Fantasy games, as you know, there's an old guy that you get on your party. And that's where the old guy came from. That's where the old guy came from. It's the voice I chose to do the voice acting for Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V, and Final Fantasy IV. It's an old guy. It's just, oh God, I lost my fucking marbles. So, effectively, like, just change my voice to whenever I want to. This is just the easiest one. This is the one that I've, like, just my normal voice, right? The voice I normally use. Just talking. Like, no effort. But there's, like, a swath of different shit that I can get into with that. You can do, like, a Russian guy or fucking all kinds of other shit. Maybe one day I'll do, like, a voice acting stream where I just fuck around and have, like, a bit set up or something. Like, argue with myself and, like, this will be after I get animations, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm working on learning animations right now so I can make the quality of this series better. But I could also do some other shit with that too, you know what I mean? Because I do, like, have experience voice acting, so I could just make some stupid shit too. Old man balls hanging low. Yep. True, Damien, yeah. They could have been better in their propaganda campaign to paint their efforts in a better light. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what they could have done. You're not wrong. Propaganda is a major part of war. Like, and when you really understand the different types of propaganda that are used, like when you really get into the different types of propaganda, it gets kind of fucked. Right? And what I mean by that is, like, you start to notice things in modern day society that you're like, is that a fucking psyop? What the hell? This place, and this place all used like the same thing as a form of propaganda. That's what's happening? Are we being attacked, like, psychologically from another country? Because you're not gonna... That's the shitty thing about psyops and psychological warfare. Is you don't really notice it's happening at first. It takes a good amount of time for you to realize that something's up. Something just ain't fucking right. And I think that's where a lot of people currently are. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Something is up. Something's just not right in this country right now. A lot of people are losing their minds for whatever reason. It's like, dude, shit. I think pretty much everything that the media feeds you is a psyop. And what I mean by feeds you is if the media puts it as something that's recommended, right? Like, I'll hop on YouTube and it gives me a bunch of recommended shit, and while most of it, I'm going to say 90% of it fits in with my algorithm. Okay? And most of my algorithm has to do with aviation, because I fucking love aviation. Have since I was a kid. Fascinated with airplanes, love airplanes. Part of what got me into, like, being interested in war and stuff like that is I just fucking love airplanes. And, well, in war there's technology, and airplanes happen to be a big part of modern day war technology. The first casualty in war is the truth. It's very profound once you think about it. Yeah, exactly. The first casualty in war is the truth. And then when you think about it, there's not been a time in human history where there wasn't at least one conflict going on in the world somewhere. War's a thing. Human beings do it. In fact, right now we're on the verge of another worldwide conflict. I'm not trying to fearmonger when I say that, because I hope to God I'm not what people would consider the best military strategist in the world, but I think it is pretty plainly obvious that if the world goes to war, it's mutually assured destruction for everybody. And I don't think any military strategist in the world wants that. So I think that's why there's a bunch of proxy shit, psychological and biological shit going on. Because it's like lesser detectable than just sending a bomber over a country or sending a missile in. Right? You can kind of get away with that in third world nations, but in a first world nation, we're going to know who sent it, when it was sent, where it was sent, and the place it's going to land long before it lands. You know what I mean? And we're probably going to be able to deactivate it. right? So it becomes this like weird game where without firing everything at once, nothing really works. And that's part of the reason I started this series in the first place, is to kind of enlighten people to some of the military strategies that are used. Because we're not immune. We may think in the United States that we're just like, oh, we're way over here and nothing can touch us and we're invincible. Yeah, that's what we thought in World War II, and then all of a sudden Pearl Harbor's happening. We were isolationist, and then bam, Japan tries to pull us into the war, which we still could have been isolationist. We could have just went on the full defense and just not really got ourselves into it, but let Japan wear themselves out. That's what we could have done. Instead, we got into it. And I'm not going to say that was the wrong decision. I really don't think it was the wrong decision for the United States to not be a part of World War II. I think that was actually a great decision. The outcome, I think, kind of fucked up a little bit, considering that the United States and Russia were both fighting Germany and then immediately hate each other. Allies and then immediately hate each other. Like, I wasn't joking when I said governments, like world governments, world nations, go through alliances like high school girls go through friendships. It's the craziest. It's wild. Wild to me. One moment they're besties and the next moment they're like at war with each other. It's the craziest shit. Human beings are nuts. People outside the country? Yeah, exactly. Who said it had to be people outside the country? Bintalk has a great point. I'd say something like air power wins wars, but that's only about 20% true. Logistics wins wars 100%. A greater problem that happens is those who see through the propaganda come out sounding like crackpots and get ignored. Smoking spaceman, that is facts. Facts. The people that do see through the propaganda do get considered crackpots. Or you get deemed as some evil despot who's like fucking should be jailed and forever, shunned from society. And it's like, dude, I'm just trying to point out the truth. And they're like, fuck you. You're like, whoa, calm down. Holy shit. Jesus. They tend to become overzealous in their attempts to expose the truth. Yeah. There will never be peace on Earth. Always going to be war somewhere. Well, Amanda, maybe. Right? I could see an Earth that there's peace on Earth, right, as far as human beings are concerned. But what that's going to take is something that isn't currently feasible, right? And what I mean by feasible is it's going to take a catastrophe of some kind. And the only way to survive from that catastrophe is if the entire world gets together. We put aside all of our differences and become one solid species. Like, screw all the racist shit. We become one solid species. Right? Personally, that's what I focus on as a whole. Like, I don't want to just bring a benefit. When I teach people how to be a ninja, for lack of a better term, right? Or lack of a better way to put it. I mean, I could use the technical term athletic performance coach, right? But when I teach people how to be ninjas, because I teach parkour and free running, I do that to benefit my species. Not just my community, not just the society I live in, not just the country I live in, but people as a whole, right? Because I focus so heavily on human movement and bodily health, and no, it's not like, I'm not talking about like body positivity and that shit. Like, no, I don't think being fat is okay. Honestly, I think you should be in a healthy BMI range. I don't think being too skinny is okay either. But you should be strong enough to do a pull-up, and it's crazy to me that most people can't. You should be strong enough and have enough balance to do a bodyweight squat, like without wobbling, or you know what I mean? You should have this kind of stability and control. You should have enough confidence in yourself and competence, strength, and stamina to be able to climb down a 5-story building balcony to balcony, right? Could save your life one day. Any of my past students, all of their lives potentially could be saved one day because they now know how to use their bodies in an advanced way, right? Which, if you think about, wasn't really advanced long time ago. Even up to not that long ago. I mean, it's only really been since the advent of, mass transportation that human beings have lost the ability to move effectively. We're the most sedentary we've ever been in the entire history of humanity. Currently. We aren't slowing down either? Yeah. Exactly. So, if I could have one gift to humanity, it would be to improve the human movement system and everybody's understanding of it. Then we'd still have different religions, though, Damien. I still think that... You think that'll still cause conflict? Yeah, but... Okay, so here's my thing, right? If you have and this is going to be wild and out of left field, but it's just a hypothetical, so bear with me, right? Bear with me. Let's say technology gets to a certain point, right? And we discover something like intelligent life somewhere else in the solar system that's just been kind of hiding out, kind of waiting. Assume our planet's under quarantine, right? It's like nobody's allowed to really fuck with it because we're right on the bridge. We're right on the point where we either will progress to a planet that leaves the planet and can mine resources from asteroids, go to a multiplanetary system, blah, 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 to a planet, or otherwise be a planet that destroys themselves through war, right? Total war. There's I forget where that comes from, but there's like a paradox or something that comes from. And let's assume that this extraterrestrial civilization just decided that the quarantine was up, right? And they were like, fuck it, these guys are a red flag. They didn't go to war with themselves, but they pose a threat to us. And so, Independence Day happens. You ever seen the movie Independence Day? It'd be something like Independence Day, where you'd have to realize that, oh shit, we're not the only thing in the solar system, and there are other things that now pose a threat to us as a species, that pose a threat to our entire planet as a whole. I think that would have a pretty rippling effect to humanity as a whole, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's ever going to happen or, whatever, but something on that level is what I'm talking about. It'd have to be that wild of an experience for human beings to kind of get over their shit and move on, right? I have very interesting religious beliefs that I'm not going to get into on the internet. Very interesting religious beliefs that I'm not going to get into on the internet. And it was a fantastic movie. I did like that movie, Independence Day. It's a great movie, great concept. Weird. You don't think humanity would come together like that? You really don't? You think that if we were being invaded by an extraterrestrial species that was ready to just wipe us clean, like the Covenant from Halo, right? They just drop down to fucking glass the planet and shit? You don't think that every country on the planet would be like, you know what, we need to pool all of our resources right now and, fight back with everything we have. Otherwise, we're done. You don't think that we would do that? I absolutely 100% think human beings would give up their shit, if only for a minute, right? If only until it was over. And then they got back to their bickering and bullshitting, right? I honestly think you could rally the entire world together on something like that. But it would have to be something specifically like that. Like, oh shit, we're being invaded by fucking extraterrestrials. you'd get a group that would side with the Yeah, but it would be a very small group. It'd be like the liberals that side with fucking whatever they want to cry about that day. Like, oh, you're discriminating against the extraterrestrials. Oh, shit. ET's lives matter. Fuck, man. Shit. But it's like shit like that. Okay, so on that whole, like, lives matter thing, I have a very hot take. And I piss a lot of people off when I give my take because they don't really listen to it. They just hear what comes out of my mouth and they get all up in arms. Oh, shit. Could do it rather? Yeah. Hot take on that. No one's life fucking matters. Ooh, you're such a dick. No one's life matters. What an asshole. Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Just logically, no one's life matters. Think about it. If the sun went supernova 8 minutes ago, right now we would all be being completely and utterly atomized and destroyed. There'd be nothing left of the planet Earth. No remnant of our existence other than one satellite that's listing lazily off into space, eventually to be lost forever to the void, right? Like, that would literally be our only achievement. It's like Voyager 1. That's like the one remnant. And even that over time would degrade and be destroyed. And without adjustments would probably end up crashing into something and becoming, waste over thousands of years. Like, we haven't done anything as a species to really matter in the grander scope of the universe. The universe is massive. We've done nothing but bicker and fight with each other since the dawn of human beings, which is wild to me. I would love, and I'm not for like, this global one world government that owns everything and just, oh my god, man. No, I'm not down for fucking some George Soros level shit. I mean, under certain circumstances I might be, right? I don't claim to be a Christian, but god damn it, if it was a Christian totalitarian imperialist government that was running the entire planet, I'd have no problem with it. Why? Because when you look at Christian nations, and I mean nations that are majorly Christian and run on Christian values, those nations have a lot of success. Christian families have children, stay together. They actually benefit the population. I'm not trying to change what works. I'm not trying to reinvent the fucking wheel, right? It's already there. The answer has already been there. And while I may not claim to be a Christian, despite the fact that I was raised Roman Catholic, right? I would still be okay with an totalitarian imperialist dictatorship if it was run by a highly moral, wonderful man who is Christian. I wouldn't mind that at all. Like, I understand, having studied a lot of civilizations throughout history, war tactics and stuff like that, that there are actually leaders throughout history that have been phenomenally good leaders and have benefited their society vastly, and other societies. Even despite the fact that they went to war and subjugated whatever society, it's like Rome, for example, right? Rome conquered a good portion of Europe. And they also built a lot of Europe's roads. Sometimes conquest can be a good thing, right? It's not always a bad thing. But I'm also not for a one world totalitarian dictatorship like George Soros is trying to do with the fucking World Economic Forum. I don't agree with that. Shit sounds evil, man. That shit sounds weird. Shit's wild. I don't know if I'd pick being a slave. Agree with that one. The individual is nothing compared to the greater span of all human existence. Yeah, exactly. A fascinating interpersonal reaction. Yep. Nor am I. I'm just pointing out that there are people that think that way. Yep. Spaceman, very true. India massively benefited from colonization. Absolutely. And it also didn't at the same time. Well, I mean, no, you know what? Actually, I'll argue that it was probably better when England was occupying it. It was probably, like, look at India now. Just saying. Sometimes. There's an argument that can be made there. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm not trying to be a dick, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, let's all go to war all the time, right? Just understanding that it is a reality we all live in and have all lived in as a human species since the dawn of our fucking species. People have been fighting over territory and resources. It's just, like, seems to be a fucking natural thing on this planet. Things fight over resources, which I'm assuming is probably a natural thing in the universe on a grander scope, right? Assuming that, you know, ET civilizations actually do exist, or whatever, some hyper advanced civilization that's been around for, you know, 550 million years of technology, and they can just traverse the stars and they're multiplanetary. Like, yeah, obviously they're going to compete with other civilizations that are like that for resources. It's no different. It's just on a larger scale. Damien and Shane debate. No, me and Shane agree on a lot of stuff. Shane's cool. I like Shane. He was down for the war crimes section. Oh man, I'm really dark. Just so you guys know, I have a really dark sense of humor. I have really dark philosophies. Like, I'm a dark human being. My heart's in the right place. My mind might not be. My mind might not be. Shit. But, like, going back into what was I talking about a minute ago? Damn it, I forgot. Yeah, Shane is awesome. I totally had a brain fart right there. I think I need more coffee. Fuck. Shit. No aliens that advanced would bother with us, you don't think? They'd see us as ants and be like, neat, they figured out how to start aquarium. They'd figured out the start of quantum physics, just like my toddler. Yeah, you know what's funny about that? From a militaristic point of view, Shane, right? Just thinking like a military strategist. I mean, this is battle tactics and war strategies with the ninja, right? So, thinking militaristically, why wouldn't they have any other incentive to fuck with us other than enslave us in some way, shape, or form? To mine resources off of this planet until this planet is completely exhausted of all resources, and then just leave us to fuck off and die. Right? Like, why wouldn't they do that instead of, we'll just leave them where they are. That's cool. They're cute. Right? Some might. I'll give you that. Some might. Right? But I think the vast majority would see us as a labor force before they would see us as cute toddlers. They'd be like, oh shit, they have enough technology to procure resources? Let's go! Yes, I take the Neil deGrasse Tyson stance on that. Yeah. We're just beasts of burden to ETs. Exactly. Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. What is on this planet they would find of value? I don't know. I mean, what's on this planet that we find of value? All kinds of shit. Gold, copper, shit, you name it, man. There's a lot of different things on this planet that, you know, all of the carbon. Like, you make a lot of shit out of just carbon, dude. Just carbon, you can make a lot of shit out of that. So, you know, like, I don't know. I'd have to argue this planet's rich in a lot of resources, and that on top of that, there might be resources that we don't even realize are fucking resources, and we're just like wasting it, right? And they're like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you wasting that? What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh my god. And we're just like, no. If I was to argue we have technology already that's taking over physical work, give that just another 100 years and we probably won't be doing much but memeing. Yeah, and we'll all be like, it'll be a Wall-E situation for sure, man. That movie is scarily accurate as to like the possibility of the future. If you've seen the movie Wall-E, That movie's crazy. Everybody's all fat and they're just getting flown around in wheelchairs or like hover chairs and shit. That's fucking nuts. What resource? I mean, there's greater amounts of resources that are out in space than there is here. Maybe. But I would argue that somebody that has technology that's progressed far beyond our understanding would understand a difference, right? Like, might understand something that we don't and find something as a resource that we don't, right? That we couldn't even conceive as a resource. Like, for instance, a rock. You know what I mean? Some little rock. It's like, oh, shit. What the fuck could we use a rock for? Like, whatever. It's just a rock. And it's like, well, no. No. Let me show you how that rock, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck? We'd have never thought of that. Well, yeah, you haven't progressed that far in technology and science yet. It's like, oh, shit. Well, we'd have never known that. It's like, no, you would have eventually got there over millions of years. Right? Tack on another 100,000 years of technological development. And why both with anything other than lasers and tractor beams? There's giant chunks of all these resources just floating around out there. Yeah, exactly. But there's also not just giant swaths of random, entities out there that are fucking swarming around on a rock with all those resources either. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, here's a labor force, let's just use it to our advantage, right? Aliens have been found and still here still are here for our resources. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that, to be completely honest with you. I really honestly wouldn't doubt that. Fat people, floaty chair. Yeah, dude. There's one asteroid that's floating around made of platinum that would single-handedly fuck the entire planet's economy. Dude, there's an entire planet made of diamond. Like, there's an entire planet made of diamond that would just completely make the diamond industry 100% obsolete. Ah, shit. Our soul. Shane, that's very cool. As a resource. Yeah, exactly, Bintalk. Our soul is a resource. You never know. That's another thing. They could have, an advanced enough civilization could have figured out how the soul works. Like, I've heard some pretty wild stories in my day. Not that I believe any of the shit, right? But, like, I've heard some wild stories from people that are like, oh, the moon is a soul trap, and you're not supposed to go into the light when you die. Because if you go into the light, you just get recycled back onto the planet. You live another life to learn fucking whatever you were supposed to learn that you didn't learn last time. It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, fuck that. I'm not... And then, like, the moon is, like, some kind of fucking energy source that, like, souls go into when they die, and then it fuels the energy source that, like, these aliens that live inside the moon fucking... Yeah, like, all kinds of crazy shit. Fuck. Human beings. You ever read The Forever War? I have not. I have not read The Forever War. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, it is. It is pretty crazy. You are not wrong. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say I know what's going on out there because I'm not the fuck out there. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. As I said on my last chill stream, I just started a new business. I'm about to pioneer this shit. And I'm also going to, the new business is also going to be a series on YouTube that like, I'm going to do on this channel, right? One thing that drives me nuts is, like, when a creator, and, like, do what you want, I have no problem. Like, I'm not trying to tell any of the other creators on YouTube how to run their stuff or whatever. Like, whatever they do is whatever they do and however they do it, right? I don't mind. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell people how to run their programs. However, one thing I will not do is I will not create 6 or 7 different fucking YouTube channels and be like, oh, subscribe to this YouTube channel for this, or subscribe to this. Like, I'll just create a different series on the same fucking channel. Right? Like, originally this channel was going to be nothing but parkour content, but one of my clients brought up to me a very interesting fact, and that is if I put out the same kind of content that I give to them, right, that they pay for free, that's kind of unfair to them, right? So I was like, shit, I can't really put out any of my content because it's all training content. It's not like I don't have any really like any compilations. I mean, I do have a compilation. I have my intro video, right, for PKFRX, but I don't have any like actual compilation material. And so like I kind of struggled with that in the beginning of this channel. Like, shit, what do I put out? I don't fucking. And then I was like trying to do reviews of other parkour athletes, but I kept getting copyright strikes, and I was like, fuck this shit, man. I'm not gonna keep fighting YouTube to try and do, you know, random parkour reviews and shit like that. I'll just do something a little bit more beneficial to society. And that's where I started the Greatness of Men series that I did, where I talked about a bunch of the greats throughout history. And now we're on to this because of the state of the world currently. Battle tactics and war strategies. It's a very real possibility we could all just be thrusted into a fucking worldwide conflict right now. Tensions are high. Not trying to scare y'all, just trying to prepare y'all, right? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Worth it. Delves into some shit about the soul and shared consciousness at the end. The guy who wrote it served in Nam. He served in Nam? Oh, shit. Oh, I definitely gotta read it now. He served in Nam. Maybe he was in my platoon. Spoke about how society gets built from the worst of us and not the best. Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong. And I can kind of put that into a kind of a point by saying that the worst of us are examples for the best of us. Like, the worst of us are examples for ways not to be, so that we can strive to be better like the best of us, right? And per my martial arts philosophy, there's always going to be someone, quote unquote, better than you, right? Doesn't matter who you are. You could be the best of the best, and there's always going to be someone better than you. Always. And there's equally always room for improvement. You never reach your ceiling, ever. There's never a ceiling. There's always room for improvement. Like, look at The Rock in his 20s, and then look at The Rock in his 40s. And you tell me that there wasn't improvement in that 20-year span, even though he was getting older. Even though when you hit your 30s, you start to lose testosterone and all this other shit, right? Like, and I get it. The Rock has a lot of money, and he can pay for extra testosterone injections and steroids and whatever the fuck else. But, like, what I'm getting at here is, like, there's room for improvement. It's not, you know, you can always learn something new, do something new, create something new, grow in some way, shape, or form. The worst of us show the best of us not, or the ways not to be. First half of the book is awesome. Second half, the writer clearly struggled with whether or not he was gay because it gives, or delves heavily into the MC reaffirming his straight out. Well, you know, I mean, maybe he was getting a lot of accusations at the time. I don't know. Maybe he was just getting, there's some shit going on in his personal life that just wasn't addressed in the book. If they can traverse the vastness of space, then I don't think there's anything they'd want. But then there's also how we'd interact with honeybees, so I'm not dismissing the idea you're presenting. Yeah, well, I mean, I was just going to say the same thing. Honeybees, I mean, even kids with ant farms, right? Like, you can get, like, shit mailed to you that's just eggs of some bug and just have it in an aquarium for the fuck of it. I mean, I have 3 dogs and 2 cats, right? Like, that we could be pets too. You never fucking know, right? Or just a zoo or something to observe. Like, it doesn't matter what the reason is. Like, it's the equivalent of trying to think of, you know, oh, what would God himself do, right? You can't conceive that. Because there's no way you have the same knowledge that God has. Like, there's just no possible way to conceive why God makes the decisions God makes, right? Just like there would be no possible way to conceive why a 350 million year old advanced civilization, you know what I mean? Like, why they would have any different, like, we wouldn't be able to conceive their thought process. They're so far vastly out of our scope of technology and realm of thinking that it's just, we're basically, like you said earlier, ants or bees, right? We're nothing but the lesser nature, I guess, unfortunately, to put it that way. And I don't mean that to be like a dick against humanity and saying we're all trash and blah, blah. No, like that's supposed to be humbling, right? That's supposed to humble you. It's supposed to bring you back to, reality. Like, we're not top shit. We're just not. And that's part of the reason I did that whole No Lives Matter diatribe. Is like, if the sun blew up right now, we haven't done anything reputable in the universe. Like, our species would be wiped out. We can't even continue after that. At least if we had made it to Mars, like Elon Musk's goal, right? At least if we had made it to Mars, then we would be a multi-planetary species. Now, if the sun exploded, obviously it's going to take out Mars too, right? But let's say the Earth started to die out or something happened to the Earth, the ecosystem on the Earth, and we had terraformed Mars to a point where we can, kind of float resources back and forth, move people here and there, and our species doesn't get wiped out, right? But until then, we're just kind of sitting here in this weird loophole, like, will we make it? Will we not make it? Like, humanity's on the edge of its seat in suspense. Like, we're almost there. But yeah, Shane, that sounds like a fantastic book. I'm going to have to check that shit out. The Forever War, huh? All right. Sounds fun. I'll refrain from the spoiler I was about to type out. Yeah. Shane, there's a few books that title. The author, Joe? Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, man. I would run into the same thing. Look at John Cena. He learned Chinese. He did. Fucking John Cena. Oh, shit. I mean, it's unfortunate that he learned Chinese. None of the Chinese will ever be able to see him. They'll just be talking to a ghost, an invisible guy. Sea monkeys for the win. He did, Amanda. Roughly. Good old overpriced brine shrimp. Yep. Good old overpriced brine shrimp. Yeah, we get about 8 minutes. Shane, we get about 8 minutes of a warning before a supernova hits us. Because when the sun just decides to go boom, it's going to take about 8 minutes. 8 minutes before we're all just fried. Before we happen to turn into, unfortunately, the same thing that happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's not a joke. That's actually serious. If the sun goes supernova, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying the sun's going to go supernova because there's literally no sign of that happening for the next couple billion years. So I think we've got some time. Signs from the sun before give us 10 or 20 years. Yeah. No, I think we would know a couple thousand years in advance, to be honest with you, Shane. That it's going to happen soon and we need to figure it the fuck out as a species, right? Like, I think we would know about 1,000 years before something on a cosmic scale, right? Like, something would get really weird with the sun, and then it would be all hands on deck to figure out how the hell we get off of this planet and away from the sun as fast as humanly possible. Like, you know what I mean? Within the next 1,000 years, and as soon as humanly possible, because it could happen any time within the next 1,000 years. You know what I mean? But I think we'd have that much of a warning. I just don't know if human beings would be able to achieve what they need to achieve to get off the planet and be able to sustain through space in that time frame. Oh yeah, I mean that too. Shit, some random shit happens. That would suck. Ha ha ha. Wild. Holy shit. Damn. Dude, could you imagine? It's just like, oh yeah. We know you inhabit this solar system, but fuck it. We're just gonna take your sun's power and your sun's gonna die out and you're all gonna die out. Sorry, we need the fucking energy. Like, damn. Realistically, the real threat is from stars is a nearby supernova. Yep. Isn't there one that's like does gamma bursts too? And we almost got a direct hit with one like 7 years ago or some shit. We almost got hit with the direct gamma burst. I would have fried most of our shit on the planet. I don't know. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to like space news, right? Unless it pops up on my feed and it's like some kind of emergency situation, like Apophis is gonna hit the planet in 2029. Oh my god, we're all gonna die in 2029, guys. Apophis is gonna... Yeah, no, Apophis has passed between the Earth and the Moon just about every time it has come around in its orbit. Like, it's just gonna continue to pass in between the Earth and the Moon until it passes behind the Earth, still in between the Earth and the Moon. Like, that's literally... You have to understand gravity models and how they work, right? Computer models. And, like, I do a lot of computer modeling because I like to design planes for fun. Which I've actually just started a business. On the last Chill stream, actually, I announced that I'm starting a business building planes for people. Right? But here's the caveat. They're not going to be like $200,000. Yeah, less than you can buy a new car for, right? You just buy a plane. You can keep in your garage. Just a personal little plane. Get you from point A to point B. And year 774 supernova. All right, hold on, I'll Google that. Yeah. How many here are aware of the solar system passing through the galactic current sheet, which is believed to be a signal of polar shift similar to the event that believed to cause the Younger Dryas event? Yeah, I've heard of that. I have heard of that several times. It's what causes the fucking pole shift, the magnetic poles to shift, which actually is already that's not even a theory anymore. Smoking Spaceman. That's a proven concept. The poles are currently shifting. Like that's an actual proven concept. It was a theory until like 5 years ago when the poles started to do their thing. They were like, oh god, oh it's gonna happen, and now the poles are actually shifting. 774 supernova, top result. All right, hold on. Supernova could have caused mysterious red crucifix in the sky. An ancient text suggests that an 8th century jump in carbon-14 levels in the trees could be explained by a previously unrecognized supernova explosion. An eerie red crucifix seen in Britain's evening sky in AD 774 may be the previously unrecognized supernova explosion, and could explain a mysterious spike in carbon-14 levels in that year's growth rings in Japanese cedar trees. The link is suggested today in Nature Correspondence by U.S. undergraduate student with a broad interdisciplinary background and a curious mind. A few weeks ago, Jonathan Allen, a biochemistry major at the University of California, Santa Cruz, was listening to the Nature podcast when he heard about a team of researchers in Japan who had found an odd spike in carbon-14 levels in the tree rings. The spike probably came from a burst of high-energy radiation striking the upper atmosphere, increasing the rate at which carbon-14 is formed. But there was a problem. The only known causes of such radiation are supernova explosions or gigantic solar flares, and the researchers knew of no such events in AD 774 or 775, the dates indicated by the tree rings. Intrigued, Alan hit the internet. I just did a quick Google search, he says. His long-standing interest in history was helpful, he notes. I knew that going far back, there's very limited written history, he says. The only things I've ever seen or heard were religious texts and chronicles that listed kings and queens, wars, and things of that nature. His search found in 8th century entries into the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle at the Avalon Project, an online library of historical and legal documents hosted by Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. Scrolling down to the year AD 774, Allen found a reference to a red crucifix that appeared in the heavens after sunset. Hidden in the heavens, it made me think it's some sort of stellar event, Allen says. Furthermore, he notes the redness might indicate that the source was hidden behind a dust cloud dense enough to scatter all but small amounts of red light. Such a cloud might also prevent any remnants of that proposed supernova being seen by modern astronomers. Well, maybe I'm like in the path of that light. I'm surrounded by all this red. Scientists in the field are impressed. Geza Gyuk. Gyuk. That's what his last name is spelled. Gyuk. An astronomer at Chicago's Adler Planetarium in Illinois, who has used the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle to investigate past astronomical events, says that Allen might be onto something. The wording suggests the object was seen in western sky shortly after sunset. That would mean that it would have moved behind the sun, where it could not be seen as Earth orbited the sun. That, along with the dimness of the new star due to the dust, would go a long way to explaining why no one else would have seen or recorded the event. What kind of planes? That's very cool. You're a smart guy. Good luck with my new business. I'll get into that in just a second. Let me finish this, and then I'll talk about my new business. Depends on the type of star, but one about 60 light years away that goes supernova is estimated to wipe out 30% of Earth's ozone layer. Yeah, I heard about that one too, Bentok. There's actually a couple that are like really shittily close to us that are fucking doing their pulsing thing, and it's not. They're like, scientists are like, yeah, this is getting fucked. At 27 light years away, it's estimated to wipe out 50% of the Earth's ozone layer. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, we might be in for some fun. Some good times here on Earth. And all we want to do is go to war. Ha! Fuck. I would so much rather go into space. All right. Let me read the rest of this, and then I'll get into talking about my business. Nevertheless, says Donald Olson, a physicist with an interest in historical astronomy at Texas State University in San Marcos, early chronicles can be difficult to interpret in an unambiguous way. As far back as 1870, he says, John Jeremiah published an article in Nature that referred to the same wording from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Jeremiah proposed then that it might have been an early description of the Northern Lights. Another possible explanation could be an ice crystal display, adds Olson. Nothing that the red crucifix could have been formed by sunset light illuminating high-altitude ice particles in both vertical and horizontal bands of light. It sounds like a far stretch to me. I mean, shit, man. Pretty much all supernovas we've recorded in the sky look like crosses. Could have been a red giant that went supernova too. You know what I mean? But it could have also been previously unrecognized supernova. Plenty of supernovae now known to astronomers are simply missing in the historical record, says Gyuk. The sky is a large place, and the historical record is not very good. This article is reproduced with permission from the magazine Nature. This article was first published on June 27th, 2012. That's the end of the article. That was a very interesting read. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Built the geese. I'm going to pop out for a smoke. No worries. 27 light years estimate, yeah. Love the planetarium in Chicago. Very interesting place to visit. Man, shit, I haven't been to the planetarium in Chicago since I was like 3 years old. Fuck. Ah, man, I was born in Aurora, Illinois. I was born in Aurora. I lived in fucking... Shit, what was the name of the goddamn subdivision of Chicago I lived in? Like Yorkville or some shit like that. Till I was like 4, then my mom joined the Navy. Like, my parents got divorced, my mom joined the Navy, my dad moved to Arizona. And, yeah. That was my my first 4 years of my life. Fantastic. Not really. It's actually really shitty. The first 4 years of my life were not fun. Some memories burned in there. Not happy about. At any rate, my business. So, my fucking business. What I aim to do is alleviate a lot of people from the stresses of shit, shit like traffic. I mean, we've had the technology to do this shit since the 90s. I don't see why we wouldn't. Move forward. You were born and raised in Chicago and you're in Vegas now? Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm actually moving to Williams, Arizona on the 1st of January. Currently, I'm in the middle of the country. But I'm moving back to Arizona. That's my fucking home, man. I love the desert. Ugh. There's nothing better than the way the desert smells after it rains. There's like... there isn't a more beautiful place in the country than fucking Arizona. I'm sorry, there just isn't. There just isn't. I've been a lot of places in this country, and Arizona is just, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. But at any rate, back on task, right? So, my, the business that I'm building, right, it's not officially started yet and won't be until I acquire that property in Williams, Arizona, right? Like, it won't be fully up and going until I acquire that property, because acquiring that property is part of the business, right? So, what's going to happen is, nowadays, you can't buy a damn fucking new car that will last you longer than fucking 2 or 3 years before some shit happens to it and you gotta go spend thousands of dollars for them to fix a whole bunch of shit that doesn't solve the issue. It's driving me and like every fucking person I know insane. New car designs and how they operate. Oh, the hood's popped. My car doesn't fucking start. Well, it's latched. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, man. Everything 2006 is just fucking ass. It's literal ass. CMEs and flares from our sun cause auroras in places that don't usually experience them. Yep. Arizona monsoon season is awesome. It is. It's fucking amazing. I stayed in Camp Verde when I visited. Loved it there. Fuck yeah. Arizona is beautiful indeed. But anyways, so like, what I aim to do, right, is fucking do something that I feel like human beings should have done a long time ago. And I really don't see why anybody's not doing this now. Technology is already heading in that direction. And if you look it up, like, you'll find that there are already companies out there that will provide you with personal aerial vehicles, right? Like a flyable drone or shit like that, right? But their battery power only lasts a couple hours and they're worth fucking 80 grand and fucking, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is crazy. It's fucking wild to me. You can go buy a kit plane, a fucking kit plane on the internet, and put that shit together for less than $20,000. Like, what the fuck are you selling this fucking flyable drone for 80 grand for? I could buy a fucking plane for 20 grand. Like, are you, what the hell? So I took that concept and I was like, you know what? We have strong enough fans now, like electric fans, right? We have strong enough electric fans that you can create vertical lift in a light enough aircraft, especially a personal aircraft, right? You can create enough lift to get vertical takeoff. So, The invention I have created is a plane that does vertical takeoff like an F-35, but also flies forward like a normal fucking plane. Is virtually as low drag as you can possibly get it, and as much lift as you could possibly get it, and has redundant safety mechanisms. It's one of the easiest things you could possibly learn how to fly. And all for less than fucking 20 grand. All for less than 20 grand. So, I intend to jostle up the fucking auto industry and the airline industry at the same time by making personal flying vehicles vastly obtainable to the majority of the public. Because why are they not already? Oh, well, because, like, the biggest issue I've come across with people and kit planes and why they don't buy them, right? Or kit helicopters or kit aerial vehicles of any kind, is a lot of people don't have the time, don't have the energy, don't have the, the know-how or the confidence to build a plane and then fly it. Right? The Jetsons, yeah, you're not wrong, Smoking Spaceman. I'm getting us there. I'll fucking get us there. We'll all be Jetson status. We're all gonna have our own little, and then eventually, when the company gets big enough, I'm gonna tell Elon Musk that we need to work together and make personal spaceships for people. Let's fucking go. Everybody gets their own spaceship. It's going to be like Oprah up in this bitch. You get a spaceship, and you get a spaceship, and you get a spaceship. Oh. But seriously, like, most people don't have the time or the effort or the wherewithal to, build a fucking plane, right? And they're not hard to do. They're really not. I mean, you can buy all the parts fabricated online, like prefabricated for you. Personally, that's not my shtick. I don't like buying anything prefabricated. I'd rather make it myself. One, I can do the quality assurance right then and there. I could tell you right now if that, if that's fucking a solid piece of metal, wood, whatever I'm using, or it's not. And if it's not, then it gets tossed, right? Like, I'm not going to get sold some piece of shit quality that's disguised as something that's good, right? I get to assess the quality, and if it's fucked up, it's my fault, right? Like, and that also reduces cost at the same time. You just buy raw materials and machine everything yourself. So then it just comes down to geometry and measurements. It's really not that hard to design an aircraft. Wouldn't be my first time. Wouldn't be my first successful time. Wouldn't be my last time. Definitely won't be my last time. I'm still going to be making fucking aircraft for me. You know what I mean? Even if I don't get one order, I'm still going to be making planes for me, right? But, like, what I hope to do is make this vastly achievable for the main public, right? Like, I want people to be able to go where they want, when they want, not have to worry about, if I go on that Boeing, the quality assurance people are getting fucking, like, they're getting shafted and then unalived mysteriously in parking lots and outside of hotels. Like, maybe not take the Boeing. Maybe go with the guy that's going to check every fucking piece before it gets used. Like, meticulously inspect that shit, because I'm extremely OCD and I don't want anybody to succumb to any kind of, shit that happened because something was not of good quality and I went with it anyways. I'm a very quality kind of person. Like, even in basic shit, when I worked a basic job at fucking Arby's, right? Everything I did, I applied myself 110% to make sure that the quality was perfect. Like, I made them fucking sandwiches look like the damn pictures. I owned that shit. It was perfect. And only 300 parts to check instead of 300,000. Well, actually, Shane, it's actually far less. Because you're looking at a 40 horsepower engine. Like, not much different than a fucking lawnmower engine. Runs off of normal gas. Like, You know what I mean? You're going to have a couple of wires to check, maybe a battery to change here and there. Like, there's not much equipment that's going to go into it. It's going to be really user-friendly. Like, you're going to be able to work on the shit, and on top of that, you'll have an instruction manual for how everything works inside of it, right? So that you can have a lowdown and basically rebuild the damn thing if you felt like rebuilding it or building another one. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's a riding lawnmower. Basically, it's a hovering lawnmower. Oh. Personal drone cycle? Yeah. Yeah, that personal drone style aircraft. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, but they're fucking expensive. And they're probably even unimaginably expensive to maintain, right? Like, the way I have this designed, it's not expensive at all. Like, for instance, my last kit plane. That fucking thing cost me like, I think, $10K in fucking parts, like the materials to build the parts, to build the skeleton. And then I think the engine was like $4,000 or $5,000 and the propeller was like $1,000, right? So overall it was like $15,000 to build a kit plane, and the thing fucking flies amazingly. Like, it flies like a champ. Fuck. I've thought several times about either upgrading it or dismantling it, but it's just like on the borderline of a part fucking 103 or whatever, right? Yeah, part 103 of the fucking FAA regulations. It has to be a certain weight, otherwise it's not classified as an ultralight. So I can't really put any more modifications onto it to make it look cooler, otherwise it's going to be overweight and it'll be classified as an experimental lightweight aircraft, which I have a pilot's license, so I can pilot that. But like, having my ultralight is like an FU to the FAA because you don't need a pilot's license to fly it, right? So it's like, it was my FU to the fucking FAA. The only reason I ended up getting a pilot's license is because I actually want to be a accredited pilot of some kind, right? And in order to have counted flight log and shit like that, you kind of already have to have a pilot's license. I mean, you can be a student pilot and log hours, but what's the point of being a student pilot and never getting your pilot's license, right? Like, that's just ignorant. Plus, at any point in time, I can just roll up and rent a Cessna. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Did you go to school for learning that? I've never met someone that could build a plane. Very cool. You know, this is going to sound really extreme, but no, I didn't. I think school is a facade. I honestly think that getting a college education anymore is fucking a waste of time, to be completely honest with you. And I have many things that back this up, right? You don't have to have a formal education in something to be vastly intelligent or skilled at that thing, right? Like, for instance, everybody that, like, let's go with Jack Northrop, the guy we talked about on my last chill stream, right? Jack Northrop was just a garage mechanic. All he knew was how to work on like 1920s engines, right? Like, these aren't new engines, these are old engines back in the way day. And he did like 2 years of construction or something like that with his dad. And he was like, well, I guess that qualifies me to be able to build an airplane. Jack Northrop is the guy that created Northrop Grumman, the airplane company that made a shit ton of planes for America during World War One, or sorry, I think it's World War II, and then Vietnam and Korea and fucking you name it, dude. Northrop Grumman's been making shit for a minute. And he also worked with the guy that made Lockheed, which eventually became Lockheed Martin, right? We went through all this shit on my last chill stream. And so it's like, did Jack Northrop really have the experience or the education to build an airplane? No, he just saw one in the sky, thought that was kind of cool, and understood lift to a small degree, designed a structure, put an engine in it, and it flew. And he's been designing airplanes. Well, I'm pretty sure he's dead now, but he designed airplanes for basically his entire life. And it became a highly successful aeronautics company that the defense contractors in this company went to on a regular basis for airplane designs. So, I'm not saying that's where I want to go with my company. I don't want to be like defense contracted and shit like that. Maybe. I mean, if they really asked me, it was like, oh, we need you to design a personal one person, blah, 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 then I might do it. But like my greater goal is to the public, to the people, to get them to be able to go wherever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want, right? Open up the ability to travel when and where you fucking please. That's dope, bro. Thanks, Chris. But yeah, I mean, I've been studying aeronautics and aeronautics engineering and airplanes and fucking helicopters and airships, blimps, fucking you name it, gliders, since I was a wee little lad. A wee little lad. And I also have the perfect last name for this company, too. You know, that might have something to do with it. Damien, man of the people. Well, I try. If you're not trying to benefit your species, why are you even alive? That's like literally your purpose as a human being. Is to benefit other human beings in some way, shape, or form. To live in service of other people is the best way to live. Right? Damien is the Henry Ford of the air travel. Dude, I hope so. I fucking hope so, man. All I'm really doing is basic math here. I'm just like, man, I can make one for under 20K. I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't want to take the time or fucking learn the know-how to do it, but would more than be happy to pay for it knowing that it works, especially if they see time after time after time again of success scenario after success scenario. Man, these things just don't fall out of the sky. And it's like, well, yeah, they're really simply, like, the concept is a really simple concept. It's high lift, low drag, and then low weight and high propulsion. It's literally like very simple concept. You don't need much, like you might need a little bit of a math history, right? Or a little bit of a geometry history, or know how to work with wood, or know, you know what I mean? All of the things that I know. I have a pretty vast history in math. And then as far as like geometry, I fucking love geometry. And then I love woodworking. So why the fuck not? I know how to weld too, right? I know how to put in rivets. I know how to like design things and cut metal. Like all of the things I can machine. I have a 16-acre property with a shit ton of equipment that I just like. A lot of it kind of sits there because I don't have any projects that I'm working on, right? So instead of letting it sit there, why not make some money off of it? And on top of that, influence the fucking greater public. Like, hey, you guys can do this too. Like, imagine, and it doesn't even have to be like for form of transportation. That's just like the long term. I'm sure a bunch of people are gonna buy it just for something fun, like a dirt bike, right? It'd be like having a dirt bike. Oh, it's just for fun. I take it out every now and then, you know what I mean? Like, I have fun with it and then fucking put it away, and I still take my car to work because there's not a parking space where I can just kind of fucking land my aircraft yet. But when there is, like, it's vertical lift and vertical landing, so you can technically take off from a parking space, but I think the wingspan might be a little longer than parking spaces are wide, right? So, it'll be a little bit of time before people can actually use it as, like, legitimate transportation. But you could, in theory, fly to a gas station, land in the open part of the gas station, and then taxi over to the pump, fill your gas up, taxi back out to the middle of the fucking parking lot, and fly away. Wouldn't that be a sight for some people? Just roll up at a gas station in a fucking plane, hop out, swipe your card at the pump, put the fucking gas in the gas tank, and just fly away. People would be losing their minds. They'd be like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. But, like, honestly, that's, I don't know. I just want people to enjoy life. I feel like that would be a real good way to enjoy life. Plus, The most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my entire life was from, like, I think it was like 28,000 feet in the air. There just isn't anything that beats a sunset from way up there. Like, in the sky, it's fucking phenomenal. It's breathtaking. Boeing. Yeah, Boeing. You're a fabricator skilled in most blue-collar crafts. Also own a company, engineer, mold making workshop, and you didn't go to study for any of it? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I think that's one thing that people do. They get in their own way a lot. Like, oh, I don't know this, so I can't do it. It's like, well, how do you know you can't do it if you've never tried? You might end up being a natural. You might end up being able to do something that you thought you couldn't. And then, holy shit, you're actually good at it. Whoa. Look at that. Nailed it. Oh. Man. You guys are fucking awesome. I appreciate everybody that showed up tonight. I'm going to have to wind it down. It is 2:50 in the morning, and I have to work at the ass crack of dawn. So, while I'm doing research over the next couple of days for the Roman Civil War, and compiling up all that information to put together to go over with you guys, which should be a fun one, because everybody loves the Roman Empire. Everybody loves the Roman Empire. We're all going to have fun on that one. We're going to be talking. That one's probably going to be like a 5-part stream, too, because there's a lot of details that go into that. There's a lot of details that go into the Roman Civil War. But, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over that next time. But, until then, I hope you all have a wonderful time. Morning, noon, afternoon, evening, no matter where you're at in the world. Enjoy your time, because it could be limited. You never know when it could end. Like, for instance, my time with you tonight is about to end here in a couple of seconds. Once I get this fucking mouse working. Damn it, this mouse sucks dick. I need to get a new mouse, y'all. Need to get a new mouse. Fucking hey, holy shit. Need to get new equipment in general. Fuck, I need a new computer, bros. I need a new computer in general. But I'm going to leave y'all with the outro, because the outro is fucking the intro, and it's cool, and I like it. So have fun. Check this shit out. If you like it, let me know. Leave a comment after the video is over. Helps with the algorithm. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like on your way out. Much love, everybody. I will catch y'all next time.
I just wish he knew. just wish he knew.